Imagine how cool it would have been if Elon Musk, Bill Gates, or any other multi-billionaire started recording their journey at 18 years old. That's what I want to do, to reach and serve as many people as I possibly can. I'll share the lessons, skills, and knowledge I've learned on my journey, document new discoveries, tools, and technology, record my personal failures and victories, along the way to building my legacy. In Season 1, I'll document my entrepreneurial journey to earning my first 100K as a full-time college student. Stay tuned. This is Legacy Voyage. A lot has happened over the past couple of days, but I'm gonna try to walk through it step by step, and hopefully you can get something out of this and my journey. The first things first, I created Coach V's email assignment. So for Coach V, I'm doing something called the 5-day lead challenge, which is something that Russell Brunson runs. He's a marketer, and I'm just trying to learn everything I can about marketing right now, and this is one of the ways I'm doing it. And working with Coach V, I'm creating his email follow-up sequence. So whenever a new client comes to his website, they type in their email. These are the emails they're gonna receive after putting it into the website. And the reason we do that is because that will build a better relationship with the client, and that means more profits in the future. And another thing I learned from Russell Brunson is he also runs something called the List Building Secrets, which is like 4 videos, just a series of videos where he really goes into the importance of having an email list and building that email list for a business. And he basically says that the email list is the lifeline of a business. So if you're not building your email list constantly every single day, your business is going to die. And that's basically what he says. And he goes over this honestly, I think it's a pretty cool concept. It's pretty cool. It's called marketing math. It's pretty simple marketing math, but it goes like this. For every email on your list, you should be making $1 a month. Think about that for a second. If you have 10,000 emails in a list, then you should easily be making $10,000 a month. Just hearing that is kind of crazy to me, and it sounds insane. But I think that's what I'm trying to do. Try to build an email list and get $1 a month. And the way to make that number go higher to something like $10, $20, $50 a month per email is you have to build better relationships with the customer. And the way you do that is you send those follow-up emails and try to build that relationship. But I'm basically gonna walk through the whole process. It goes like this. A customer comes to what's called a squeeze page, which is just a very simple web page, and all it has is something called a lead magnet, and then it has an input for the name and the email. So all you're doing with that is you're trying to get the customer's email. In exchange, you'll give them the lead magnet. And what a lead magnet is it's something you exchange the customer for their email. It can be pretty broad. It can really be anything. It can be, for example, a lead magnet that Russell Brunson runs is he gives away books for free, and that's his lead magnet. So of course I'll put in my email and then receive some books, get all the value I can from those books, and then I want to go more into his business. Another example that something I'm running for Coach V, his lead magnet is a simple one pager that just talks about gratitude and how business executives can use gratitude within their family, within their marriage and business, and how that will improve the relationships they have and also the profits they have. And that's the process of a squeeze page and lead magnet. And then after the customer puts in their email, they get the lead magnet. They go into a follow-up funnel, which is basically just a series of emails that the customer receives. And in that, I'm trying to, as the business person, I'm trying to upsell them into a higher product or service or value, something that they will then pay for, and then I can serve them more. And that's the whole idea of building your list and a lead funnel. That's what it is. And another thing that Russell Brunson was talking about was this thing called FunnelFlix. It's a super cool idea, but it's basically ClickFunnels trying to enter into the streaming platform or the streaming space, providing a whole bunch of courses and training materials on how to build your own funnel or personal development or all these other things, marketing, entrepreneurship, which I think is super cool. It is pretty expensive, but once I got the money for that, I'm definitely gonna buy that for sure. FunnelFlix is a pretty cool idea, and I'll definitely look into it more in the future. Going off of that, I was able to meet with a bunch of people over the past couple days, and I'll try to hit them one by one, try to give them their spotlight. The first person I met is he's sort of been kind of a mentor to me. I talked about him previously. His name is Max Skidmore. He's actually been helping me a lot with resume writing and interviews. He's been a huge help with teaching me how to network with professionals, which is super cool because he really doesn't need to do any of these. But I think it's really cool what he's been able to teach me and help me do. I definitely hope I can help him in some way in the future, which I know I will. But while I was working with him, he was giving me all these great, man, it was amazing the information he was telling me. And this was all for free about how to network with professionals. He was specifically talking about how to cold email. Because we sat down and we wrote a cold email to founders of private equity firms, which is insane thinking about like reaching the top. But a couple key points that he taught me. One of the main things I took away from it was when he said, don't be afraid to target the top. Whenever you're networking, don't be afraid to reach out to executives, top executives, founders, leaders. Don't be afraid to reach out to them because it doesn't cost you anything to send an email or send a text or send a LinkedIn connection message, whatever. It doesn't cost anything. So don't be afraid to just reach out. Hey, can I schedule a meeting with you? Learn more about what you do, your job. Talk about any potential opportunities. And the reason it's important to reach out to them is because they're the ones who are going to get you interviews, jobs. And it's also so important to network with these people because your network is your net worth. Let me say that again. Your network is your net worth. Words of wisdom. Moving on, I was also able to meet with, man, I could not say his name. It's Kaeokalei Alo. He's a Polynesian dude, and he lives in Salt Lake, I think. But I was able to meet with him. He started his own therapy practice called ROADD Therapeutic Services. ROADD stands for Rise Over Adversity, Determine Your Destiny. That's a pretty sick acronym. But he's really big on mental health and educating people about the misconceptions and the things that people don't know about mental health. And man, listening to his mission was actually amazing because he really just wanted to educate people on mental health. And growing up Polynesian, Tongan, mental health is something no one ever talks about. And seeing this dude who is Polynesian out there in Salt Lake educating others on mental health, man, I really hope I can help him in the future. I know I can, but his mission was so cool. And I was able to connect him with my sister, and hopefully she'll be able to help him with his business and practice and hopefully grow that. And I can connect with him in the future. But another important lesson here is that I definitely could have helped him out in trying to build his website and do all that. But understanding that I do not have the time for it because I'm honestly, I have too much responsibility right now as it is. And I don't think I would be able to take him on and give him the most value that I could. I think a better way for me to help him would be to focus on what I'm doing right now, learn everything I can about marketing, business, and then maybe in the future connect with him and then help him out in his mission. But I'll definitely connect with him in the future. That's a fact. Another person I met with is D. I talked about her in a previous episode. But I'm interning for True Wealth Capital, which is a private equity firm. And I'm working with them, and under that I'm working with D specifically, who is the operations person. So she manages all the operations. I think she got her MBA, which is pretty cool. But we're specifically working on Mana Ecom, which is an e-commerce management company. And with that internship, I'm learning a lot about HubSpot and how to use it. HubSpot is a CRM. It's a customer relations manager, which is going to be super important for me in the future, especially with building companies and handling CRMs, because these are really important for the operational side of a business. And over our internship, I'm going to be completing tasks and helping her however I can. Something that she asked me to do was research accounting software that would connect with HubSpot and the e-commerce businesses. So it would connect HubSpot and Amazon, Walmart, and all the other e-commerce stores out there. And I'll probably meet with them again Thursday in 2 days and report back on how that meeting went. Another meeting I had. This guy was the most interesting meeting. Not that the other guys weren't as cool or interesting, but this fool, he was a super interesting dude. And I'm super glad I was able to find him on LinkedIn and connect. But let me try to give a rundown of what this dude has done. So first of all, I think one of the most whoa thing, this dude really did that. He graduated from Cornell Ivy League from the business school. And that's whoa, this Polynesian dude, he's Polynesian by the way. Ian Folau is his name. I was like, whoa. This guy did that. And then he goes and I researched him on LinkedIn. This man's done it all. He served in the army, which is really cool. And while he was there, he started a couple businesses. One of the businesses he started was the way he described it to me, it was basically an Airbnb for military trainees. So whatever they were deployed somewhere, training somewhere, they would be able to rent out a room in one of his properties and then stay there. And that was before Airbnb was a thing. So this fool, he already thought about that stuff. Another thing he's trying to start was a rugby brand, which is just interesting to me because I love rugby. And this fool, he likes rugby too, so that's pretty cool. And then while he was at Cornell, he created a startup called GetLinks, and GetLinks it's a software as a service company. It's a SaaS business, and he started that company. After that, he exited, sold that, started ClearMix, which is a video production company, and he's serving as an advisor for that company. And then now he's at Scout Ventures, which is a venture capital firm for venture capital. It's for deep tech, is what it's called. And I guess it's for a tech that can be sold towards both the government and big companies like Google, Facebook, Amazon, all those guys. And along with that, he also founded his own business. I think it's called business brokerage firm, where he basically goes and tries to find businesses that are willing to sell and then connect them to buyers who are willing to buy those businesses. And he's basically connecting like private equity, venture capital firms to smaller businesses. And I was talking to him. I'm hoping to maybe have an internship with him, because in our conversation, I learned so much. I'll get into that later. But in that 30-minute conversation, this man dropped crazy amounts of wisdom. Like, he was saying stuff, and I was having a hard time keeping up because it was deep stuff. It was really cool. So just having the opportunity, if I could go out there to Salt Lake, he's in Salt Lake, by the way. But if I could go out there to Salt Lake and just work with this guy, oh man, that would be insanely valuable. Because the thing is Baton Strategies, that's his business brokerage firm, is that it's a startup. Like, it's very, very new. He doesn't have another employee yet, too, which is amazing that I could have found this dude and then work with him and work directly with the founders. It's such a crazy cool concept. Or not concept, but it's just a crazy cool opportunity for me. So hopefully work with him in the future. And on to my biggest lessons from that meeting. One of the things that he mentioned that I thought was super interesting was that in the Army, the reason he didn't want to pursue the Army or go further with it is because you can't jump out of line. And what is that? At first I was like, what does this man mean, jump the line? And it's really interesting because I think a lot of people think this way, that you have to go through this corporate world where you start at the bottom and work your way slowly towards the top, work for a couple years, and then you could be promoted into this, and then work another couple years, and then be promoted to this thing, and then go work for another company, and just move up the ranks or move with the line. But I think this was a super interesting insight. He said in the Army you can't jump the line. And the motivation, or what he means by that, is that he wasn't able to be promoted faster or go make millions of dollars. If you wanted to be in the Army, you're not making $1 million. You're not gonna be a millionaire. Is what he said. I'm not. I'm not saying that it's not possible. I honestly have no idea. But that idea is I think super, super interesting, because the thing that I think me and him both have in common is that we don't want to, and entrepreneurs in general, I think we have this, is that we don't want to go do what everyone else is doing, be promoted a couple years and be promoted again. We want to jump the line. Like, we want to go out there and then be something. What does that mean, be something? I think this is all a working thought, but I think that being something means achieving the goals that you want, the dreams that you want to pursue, and jumping the line is pursuing those goals no matter what. Another big lesson that he told me was identifying incentive. He said, in life, there are incentives. So basically, what incentivizes you to buy a product or wake up and work or go out there and serve other people? What incentivizes you to do all these things? And he said something that he did was he identified what incentives people have. So he identified what incentives software developers have, and to motivate them and serve them and bring them on to work for him as he led them to build his tech startup, GetLinks, which is a super cool concept. Lesson number 3 I learned from him is that as a leader, people looked up to him because he supported anyone on the team. He put his team's needs before his own. And that was something that one of his teammates pointed out about him, was that he was up at 12, 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, serving his team, getting them drinks and stuff, and making sure they were okay. And that's something that I'm definitely going to take away as to being a leader and an entrepreneur. You're going to have to put your team's needs before your own to be the best leader that you can possibly be. And that's what it means to be a good leader. Lesson number 4. These are a lot of lessons I learned from this guy. Lesson number 4. He said that building a second company is way easier than building your first company. And that's kind of along the same idea as season 1 of this podcast is your first 100K is going to be so much harder than your second 100K. Or your first million is going to be so much harder than your second million. It's basically because when building his first company, he didn't know many people. He didn't have the network or the resources that he did when he was building his second company. So when he was building ClearMix, his video production company, it was a lot easier to raise money, raise capital, bring on employees, investors, because they knew he had a background of having a successful exit from GetLinks. And he was able to build trust and a network, which is super cool. And going off of that, lesson number, I lost track. I think it's 4 or 5, something like that. A bunch of lessons in this. Let me remind you, 30-minute call. Just in 30 minutes, this guy taught me all of this, which is insane. But lesson number 4 or 5, lost track. He talked about network. The network that you build in college while you reach out to people is so big in starting your business. And something that he did when he was at Cornell, he brought aside a couple of the grad students, and he was like, he brought them out for coffee. He said, "So what's your plans? What are you gonna do after you graduate? Are you gonna go for Google, Facebook? Go out there and code up programming, and go teach maybe all these other career fields." And every so often he would get that entrepreneur who said, "Man, when I graduate, I'm gonna go build a business. I'm gonna go create a company." And it was those people where he was like, "Man, we'll say less, because I'm trying to do that too. Let's connect and let's do this thing." And that's something that I thought was super interesting. And I think I've got to do that more. I've got to go reach out to entrepreneurs and potentially build something with them. I think that would be super cool. And lesson number 5 or 6, I think 6 maybe. The funny thing that I took away from our 30-minute conversation was that his mission or something he noticed was that Polynesians really are not in this space. Polynesians are not in business like at all. Because really, when you think of Polynesians or successful Polynesians, at least for me, I think of, I don't know, Halo Tingata, Troy Padamal. I really only think of athletes. And something he mentioned was that Polynesians are not just sports. We're more than football and rugby and athletes. Not that there's anything wrong with pursuing those things, pursuing sports and the NFL. Nothing wrong with that, but it's that we're more than just that. And a part of that conversation sparked my potential interest in here's basically the thought process of what I want to do in the future. I'm thinking starting a mastermind group or some type of network of Polynesian entrepreneurs. Because while I was talking with this guy, his name is Ian, while I was talking with him, I was mentioning other people that he should definitely be meeting. And he never even heard of these people. I thought that was insane because, they're a Tongan who graduated from Kellogg or another Polynesian who started a tech startup in Salt Lake where he's living. And it was insane that he never knew these people. So I'm thinking starting a mastermind of Polynesians entrepreneurs. And as a part of that mastermind, I'm thinking bi-monthly, I'll start another podcast where I interview them and learn everything they know and their journey, and hopefully inspire. I think the mission behind that will be to inspire other Polynesians to pursue entrepreneurship and business. And it'll also be to connect a whole bunch of these Polynesian entrepreneurs and professionals who don't know other Polynesians. At first I think I was going to call it Polynesians in Business, like with a PIB. I think that would be a sick logo, but I think business would be too specific. So I think I'm gonna switch it up to Polynesian entrepreneurs or something in that realm, where it'll be focused on entrepreneurs, on Polynesian entrepreneurs, and maybe later expand that to Pacific Islanders. But I really want to focus on the Polynesian community because I think it's so important. Oh, and then with starting that podcast, I'm gonna meet with Coach V because Coach V, he's also the president of a media company called Island City Media Group, and they run a podcast that's pretty decent with Coach V. I think the quality could honestly be better. And there's also more potential to repurposing that content for other platforms. But if I can reach out to him and then maybe create this podcast where I can interview these Polynesians and feed that into the mastermind group, I think that would be super cool. And that's just one of the projects that came to mind. But yeah, I was able to connect Ian with a whole bunch of other dudes, and I think over the summer we'll see what my future holds. But over the summer, I'll hopefully go work with him and see how that goes. Learn as much as possible. Cause I think it was pretty funny. Something he mentioned was that I'm pretty good at networking, which I think, man, I've hopped on so many networking calls, and I would love to teach other people how to do this thing, networking, because it's so important in business, life, school, for your future. In terms of in terms of school, I've done all of this stuff and learned all these things, and then on top of that, balancing it with school, it's a grind for sure. But man, it's really awesome because last week I took an econ midterm, economics, and I found out yesterday that I aced it, which is the greatest feeling ever. And I also took a midterm that I feel really good about. And then I also spent hours on this CS project. Man, it was so difficult, but I was able to complete that. And now I'm writing a philosophy paper while I'm doing all this other stuff. And school is interesting, man. I think we'll see how I continue school with balancing my mental health and physical health and all these other important aspects of life. But honestly, as of right now, I think I'm really proud of what what I've been able to accomplish with balancing school and networking in the business side. And I think I'm just in the phase of my life where I'm trying to learn as much as possible. I think some income would be nice. I think I would definitely be able to generate income if I just focus on that specifically, but just learning as much as I possibly can, and the internship I'm in right now with True Wealth Capital and Mana Ecom, I think that'll be super insightful. And I can't wait to see what my future holds. I think one of the other projects that I'm hoping to work on is I'm planning on putting together a complete system walking people through how I cold email and network with professionals on LinkedIn or just on email, and how I schedule meetings and land internships opportunities that are not online. Because if you go online, guaranteed, there are so many opportunities not on there. And this is why it's so important to reach out and build your network, because there's so many opportunities not listed there. And the only way for you to get those opportunities is to network with people, is to reach out to them and schedule meetings and meeting them on a Zoom call, learning as much as possible, getting your name out there, and hopefully serve them in the future as they've also served you. So biggest lesson, I think the biggest takeaway from this is networking. Networking is super important. If you haven't figured that out in the past 20, 30 minutes, as I've been talking about networking nonstop, networking is really important for your journey. And I think it'll be a crucial part in Legacy Voyage, and we'll see what this podcast will turn into. And yeah, hopefully I'll be able to put all this content into like a blog post or something where for people can read, and post it on like LinkedIn or something. But that's it. So then, what's my what's my outro? It's oh, Dr.